Welcome everyone to Abhidhamma study. We are at class 14th already, and we are going to learn sense sphere beautiful consciousness, Kāmāvacara-sobhana Citta today. Today is December the 14th, 2022. We are coming close to the end of the year. It is 6 p.m. Pacific time. So here's our agenda for today. And we just did provision and discussion just before our Bande arrived. We will now proceed to opening with Namo Tassa, followed by Abhidhamma Lecture by our Bande, Venerable Piññātika Lingara. And then we will stop the live streaming and we will continue with the question and answer session and also sharing merits on this at this Zoom meeting. So if you want to join us, if you're still watching us on YouTube and Facebook, you can join us using this Zoom ID. And then here's the passcode. Without further ado, Bande, please lead us with chanting Namo Tassa.
Okay, let's start our today's study, reciting Namo Tassa 3 times together. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa.
Bande, please teach us a lecture on the sense sphere beautiful consciousness. Thank you so much, Bande.
Okay, so today we are going to study sense sphere beautiful consciousness, which is called Kāmāvacara-sobhana Citta in Pali. So sense sphere is Kāmāvacara, sense sphere, and sobhana is beautiful. Because we already studied the other 2 groups of sense sphere consciousness. Those are not beautiful. Those are not beautiful. And so we will classify Kāmāvacara Citta into beautiful and non-beautiful in this lesson. And we will emphasize on the beautiful consciousness, the 3rd group of sense sphere consciousness. Okay. So if we divided the sense sphere consciousness, so altogether, how many sense sphere consciousness? Do you remember?
Akutala sense sphere consciousness and Kutala sense sphere consciousness, right?
Altogether 54.
54.
$24 is the what's it called? 24 and 30. Right.
I think we just lost Bande's
internet problem.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we can do a little bit of advertising. So usually we start our class 5:30 to 6 p.m. for revision and discussion. Oh, Bande has come back. Okay. Bande, we're just doing a little bit of advertising while you got dropped. So spotlighting you again, Bande. Bear with me. Okay. You can do screen sharing.
Okay, sorry, the connection lost. Okay, so altogether 54 sense sphere consciousness in 3 groups, right? So among the 54 sense sphere consciousness, the first group, Akusala 12, and second group, Hituka, 18 are regarded as the non-beautiful consciousness because the remaining consciousness are identified by the word sobhana, beautiful. That's why, and the two group of akusala and ahituka are named as the asobhana, so not beautiful. Altogether, not beautiful, asobhana consciousness 30. Among the 89 consciousness, the remaining 59, starting from the sense-pure beautiful consciousness group, and the higher consciousness of the Mahagata and Lokutara and other way, Rupavachara, Arupavachara, and Lokutara are regarded as the Sobhana Citta. Okay, so why the reason why the akusala and ahituka are regarded as asobhana, not beautiful? So it is mentioned in the literature, not directly come from the Abhidhamma text, but is mentioned because akusala consciousness are not associated with unwholesome roots. Unwholesome roots or lobha, dosa, moha. These unwholesome roots are not beautiful because they have the unwholesome nature. So consciousness associated with the unwholesome roots are also regarded as the not beautiful consciousness. And this is the reason why we can say the akusala as not beautiful. And ahituka. So for the case of ahituka, akusala roots only connected with the akusala consciousness. So ahituka consciousness are not associated with lobha, dosa, moha roots. That's why we cannot give the same reason to that group to be not beautiful. So for the ahituka group, why they include not beautiful is they are unstable, like floating plants on the water. They don't have the roots. That's why they are not stable. In the same way, ahituka consciousness are not connected to any roots, not connected to the unwholesome root, and also not connected to the beautiful roots. That's why without the roots, they are unstable. Because of their instability, they are regarded as not beautiful consciousness. Then for the others, the remaining 59 out of the 89, or if we count it in large enumeration, among the 121 consciousness, the remaining and 91 consciousness are regarded as the beautiful consciousness because they are connected to the beautiful Paṭivedha. Paṭivedha like the Satta, etc. So Satta Sati. And if we study in the chapter 2, we will find the beautiful Paṭivedha. So consciousness itself, just knowing the object. Consciousness, all consciousness have the same characteristic of knowing the object. That's why we cannot identify through the quality of consciousness itself, because they have the same characteristic. And we can identify consciousness beautiful or not beautiful due to their associated Paṭivedha. Because the 59 consciousness are associated with the beautiful Paṭivedha of Satta, Sati, etc. And these are regarded as the beautiful consciousness. Okay, so let's see the classification of beautiful consciousness. Not only Kāmāvacara consciousness, the other Rupavachara, Arupavachara, and Lokuttara are also regarded as the beautiful, because they also they are also associated with the Sattva, etc. Then altogether, the Kāmāvacara-sobhana 24, Rupavachara 15, Arupavachara 12, and Lokuttara in short 8. So the Sobhana Citta are 59. And if we count the Lokuttara as 14, other than 8 Lokuttara multiplied by the 5 jhana, so 8 become 40. So in this way, there are 59 Sobhana Cittasika become 91 enlarged. So when we study Citta chapter, we should know the classification according to the plane of existence divided into 4. So Kāmāvacara, Rupavachara, Arupavachara, and Lokuttara out of the samsara. And so we count when we count the consciousness, in short, Lokuttara is only 8, 4 mega and 4 phala. And if we count in large meal, although the mega and phala are the same, if the person after the attainment of jhana, connected to this jhana, so Lokuttara can becomes 40. 8 become 40. If related to the first jhana, it becomes one type. Related to second jhana, another type in this way. So in relation to the 5 types of jhana consciousness, Lokuttara become 40. In this way, the 89 consciousness are enumerated 121 enlarged. Okay, so now we already know the classification of Sobhana and Asobhana. So Asobhana 30 and Sobhana 59 or 91. This is the classification. And we are now starting to study the Sobhana, because we already finished our Sobhana group. And also, if you can practice, and you should try to be expert in the classification of Asobhana first. Asobhana, only 2 groups. There, according to the group given in the Abhidhamma Sangaha, Agusala also classified into three groups, Ahituka into 3 groups, firstly. After that, you need to classify according to the feeling, classification of feeling, how many consciousness are accompanied by the joint, somanasa or upekha, like this. In our traditional study, we try to be a master, trying to be a mastery of the classification in different way. That's why we don't forget for that. And also, when we continue in further study in advanced level, this information are very helpful. Otherwise, always go and check to the formal lesson, and sometimes getting confused. If you can keep some information of the consciousness, and the further study become easier. So according to feeling, or according to for akusala ditthikata samyutta or ditthikata vipyutta, like this. And for the akusala asankharika or sasankharika, so you have to classify if you want to be mastery. And for the Sobhana also the same way. So now we will start the Sobhana Citta. Yeah. And there are 24 consciousness divided into 3 groups. It become not that complicated like a rootless consciousness. So for the rootless consciousness, many types consist of according to their function. And so the Ahituka Citta are a little bit complicated. And for the sense pure, beautiful consciousness, Kāmāvacara-sobhana Citta, quite simple. So just divided into 3. First group, kusala, wholesome. And second group, resultant, produced by wholesome. So resultant is the result of the wholesome, because wholesome have the potency to produce the result. Like unwholesome. So for the unwholesome, you have to connect the unwholesome resultant 7 consciousness. So 12 unwholesome and 7 unwholesome resultant consciousness in the Ahituka group. And for this wholesome consciousness, as we have mentioned in former lesson, you have to connect to 16 consciousness, 16 resultant consciousness. Yes, wholesome consciousness being the cause, they can produce the 16 resultant consciousness. Do you remember what are the 16? Anyway.
Consciousness.
Yes.
Eight wholesome conscious resultant from the Ahituka and 8 from the sense sphere resultant. 8 and 8 plus 16.
Okay, very good, very good. Very good. So in this way, we have to remember some information. So in relation to cause and effect relationships. So when we are performing the wholesome action, or we have to know this wholesome action will bring this kind of result. So this is makes stronger the cause and effect relation, understanding on this cause and effect relationship. Okay, so these resultants are the result of the wholesome consciousness. And sense sphere functional. So this functionals are identical with the wholesome in the classification. The difference is the functional consciousness, Kriya Citta, they are not producing any result. They will not produce any result in the future, although they arise. So this is the difference between the wholesome and functional, kusala and kiriya. So for the kusala has the two nature. So two nature. First one is anavaja, not guilty or not guilty. And second one is sukha vipaka. Bring or produce the resultant with happiness, or resultant to be happy. That is sukha vipaka. So as kusala have this two nature, the second nature related to the differentiation of the wholesome and functional. But functional still is not guilty, but it cannot produce the result, any result. But wholesome have that potency to produce the result. If we know the wholesome, the difference between wholesome and functional is not complicated. So this wholesome consciousness arises in the mental process of Puthujjana and Sikha. Except the Arhat. So if we count it, and maybe you remember the 12 individual, the classification of 12 individual. There are 4 Puthujjana and 8 noble person. Yeah. What is the highest one? Who is the highest one?
Arhatapo.
Arhatapalata. Right.
Arhatapalata. Yeah.
Right. So that person is called Arhat. In the Arhat mind, wholesome consciousness cannot arise. Instead of wholesome consciousness, the functional consciousness take place. So when Arhat meditate, no kusala. When Arhat gives something as a dana, is also not wholesome, not kusala. Instead of wholesome, the functional consciousness arises. So when the Puthujjana or Sekha, when they perform the Punya Kriya Vatu, we already studied the Punya Kriya Vatu, 10 bases of meritorious deed, Dana, Sila, etc. The wholesome consciousness arises. On the other hand, we can say the wholesome consciousness cause to perform 10 types of meritorious deed to the Puthujjana and Sekha. And for the Arahat, because they don't have further rebirth after the Arahat life, no more rebirth. That's why the wholesome consciousness cannot produce the result. So other than wholesome, being wholesome is become functional. So this is the nature. So we understand wholesome consciousness arises in which person and when. When means that when the person performs the meritorious deed. And for the functional consciousness, when they see something, also the jhana movement take place, the functional consciousness, because in the Panchadvara process, the 5-door process also, as we have mentioned in former lesson, if someone have the ayoniso-manasikara at the jhana movement, akusala take place. If someone has the yoniso-manasikara, kusala jhana take place. Here, this kusala. But for the Arahat, it's functional only. Okay, so let's see here. The slide mentioned that. Okay, and in the 5-door process, the other movement are not different. In the jhana movement, so due to the improper attention, ayoniso-manasikara, unwholesome jhana arise. And if someone have the proper attention, yoniso-manasikara, the kusala jhana arise, wholesome jhana. So the wholesome consciousness cannot take place in the other moment. Yeah, 5-door avattin, eye consciousness, receiving, investigation, determination. These all are already identified by the Ahetuka Citta. So when we explain Ahetuka Citta, we explain this. This moment are the function of Ahetuka Citta. Only the jhana moment, so akusala and kusala can be. And for the functional consciousness, this one, this color represents the functional. So for the Arahat's process, not arising kusala and akusala, only the Arahat only the functional consciousness arises. So, and although the other function and other mind movement the same because they are vipaka. Vipaka will not change according to individual, and only the jhana movement change. So now we understand the kusala, akusala, kiriya when they arise in the mental process also. But for the vipaka, so here this vipaka, the former moment of vipaka, 5-door avattin, eye, receiving, investigation, determination, these all are ahituka. So what about the sense pure vipaka? In the 24 consciousness, also when we classify into 3 groups, wholesome, resultant, and functional. So there is the group of resultant consciousness. When these consciousness arise, so if our human being and deva, at the beginning of the life, which is called Paṭisandhi, the Paṭisandhi can be one of the 9 consciousness for the human beings and deva like this. So for Ahituka also can be one. Ahituka Paṭisandhi also one. So just put aside the Ahituka. The other 8 are Vipaka here in this group. Sincere, beautiful Vipaka. So this 8 Vipaka arise at the moment of Paṭisandhi. So in one life, 3 are identical according to the nature. Paṭisandhi here, Bhavanga, and the last moment, Chuti, right? So Paṭisandhi, Bhavanga, and Chuti are the same. That is why if one of the 8 resultant arise at the moment of Paṭisandhi, they will repeat in the moment of Bhavanga too. So these Bhavanga are one of the 8 resultant consciousness performing the function of Bhavanga. And also they can arise in the moment of registration, which is arising after the Chavana moment. So the registration moment, altogether 11 consciousness can arise performing registration function. So these are 8 Vipaka, the 8 sense-pure Vipaka, and 3 Santirana. 3 Santirana. So when we classify the Ahituka consciousness, you may remember 3 consciousness are identified as the investigating and Santirana. This Santirana not only performing the investigation function, they can perform the registration function as well. That's why altogether with the 8 sense-pure resultant beautiful resultant consciousness and the 3 investigating consciousness, 11 consciousness can perform the registration movement. So now we understand there are 3 group of consciousness, sense-pure beautiful consciousness, what their function in the process. This is quite clear and more interesting other than you are studying all the time classification, right? So if we just focusing on the classification in every lesson continuously, it seems boring. Now we understand them how they are working and when with the specific mind movement. It's quite interesting. And if you learn more about the daily life action, it's more interesting. Okay, so it is time to classify. Here, if we classify the first group of wholesome consciousness, it's all finished because the resultants are same as it is cause. Its cause means wholesome consciousness, according to classification. And functional also same as the kusala, only different is it does not produce any result. So let's see the 8 wholesome consciousness according to the classification. So 4 consciousness accompanied by joyful feeling. So they are called Somanasa Sahagata, 4. And Ubeka Sahagata, 4. So 8 consciousness, actually the sense okay, now I think you can hear. Okay, so for the first time, if we identify that sense-pure wholesome consciousness is only one type. According to accompanying feeling or joint and equanimity, it becomes 2 types. Then if we classify more, some associated with knowledge and some dissociated from knowledge. So in this way, it becomes another classification. And this is very similar to the classification system of the Loba Mula consciousness. So in the Loba Mula, because it is a wholesome case, the wrong view take place. That's why Detikata Sambyuta and Detikata Vipyuta. In the kusala, beautiful side, wrong view cannot arise. Instead of wrong view, jnana, knowledge, take place. So some consciousness associated with knowledge is called jnana sambyutta. Some consciousness dissociated from knowledge is called jnana vipyutta. So this is another identification. So altogether, 4 consciousness associated with knowledge and 4 consciousness dissociated from knowledge. The jnana sambyutta 4, jnana vipyutta 4. In the same way, so unprompt and prompt. So asankharika and sasankharika, each type has 4. So in this way, if we identify by specific name, it's become 8. So let's read the sense sphere wholesome consciousness. Or on the other hand, it's called Kāmāvacara-sobhana Citta or Mahakusala Citta. 8. Let's read in Pali. Somanasa Sahagata Jnana Sambayutta Asankharika Citta. Somanasa Sahagata Jnana Sambayutta Asankharika Citta. Okay. Somanasa Sahagata Jnana Vipyutta Asankharika. Somanasa Sahagata Jnana Vipyutta Asankharika. Upekha Sahagata Jnana Sambayutta Asankharika. Upekha Sahagata Jnana Sambayutta Asankharika. Upekha Sahagata Jnana Vipyutta Asankharika. Upekha Sahagata Jnana Vipyutta Asankharika. Actually, the classification is not difficult. If we know how to count and how they are classified, it becomes easier. So now we get the 8 wholesome consciousness. Okay, let's talk about the types of the consciousness by their name. So the first one is called sense sphere wholesome consciousness. We already talked about that. Because they are under the 54 sense sphere consciousness and frequently arise in the 11 plane of sense sphere existence. They are called sense sphere. They have the 2 characteristics of not being guilty and can produce the result of happiness. That's why they are called wholesome kusala. And they are beautiful. They are in connection with the beautiful mental feathers of satta, sati, etc. They are sobhana. That's why sense sphere, wholesome, we can say that beautiful. But here you see the Kāmāvacara-kusala, another name. Also, we can understand Kāmāvacara-kusala. Kāmāvachara, sense sphere, kusala, wholesome. And another name, Mahakusala. If this one is Mahakusala, another one, the Mahavipagga, result and become Mahavipagga. And the function that become Mahakiriya. So Mahakusala A, Mahavipagga A, Mahakiriya A. So Maha, the great, they are being translated as the great. But compared to the other types of kusala, okay, let's see the other types of kusala. What are the, other types of kusala in the chat here? Wholesome, among the wholesome consciousness, the sense sphere wholesome is the lowest one. The other wholesome, other kusala, rupavachara, arupavachara, lokutara, all are higher than this one, the sense sphere wholesome. So it should be, the other should be greater than the Kāmāvacara, because rupavachara, arupavachara, lokutara. Compared to the result also, for the Kāmāvacara kusala, we can get the life in the Kāmāvacara realm of existence. We can get on the other hand, we say that happiness can be enjoyed only in the sensual plane of existence. So this happiness compared to the five material sphere or immaterial sphere or phala is nothing. So why is called the great by the word great Maha? So this is question. So why it is called Mahakusala? Although it is lowest one. So the answer is the number here. It has eight consciousness. So it's larger than the other kusala. So the other kusala, you see the rupavachara only 5, arupavachara 4, and even the lokutara 4 only. That's why compared to the other group of consciousness, that is 8, the larger number. This group has the larger number. That's why this is called Mahakusala. But this name is not directly come from the text in the Dhammasangani, etc. They are original text of Abhidhamma. You cannot find the Mahakusala, the name Mahakusala. But later in Abhidhamma study, this one is used, the Mahakusala. So that's why we should know the reason why it is called Mahakusala also. Otherwise, we were confused. Or this one is greater than the others, actually. Actually, among the 21 wholesome consciousness, this is the lowest one. So only the number is greater than the others, larger than the others. So that's why Mahakusala should not be confused. Another explanation also comes. If you know this, the system of karma producing. So rupavachara and arupavachara are the upapacha viraniya karma, kinds of the upapacha viraniya. It means they produce their result, the succeeding life. So next life, second life, they produce exactly. If they cannot produce, they become the ahosikama. They cannot be aprapriya. Aprapriya is following along the samsara. So the potency of rupavachara and arupavachara are in this way. If they have opportunity to produce their result, they produce their resultant, the same resultant consciousness in the second life. So for example, if meditator practice the attainment of jhana level, so these rupavachara, arupavachara, all are jhana. So arising the jhana are wholesome consciousness. And they produce after this life and go to the Brahma realm. Their result arise as a Patisandhi, Bhavanga, and Juti. So in this way, the beings, due to the kusala gamma or jhana, they reborn in the jhana Brahma realm. If they cannot reborn, these jhanas become the hosikama. Hosikama means defunct, not producing any result. And after producing the Brahma realm, the life in the Brahma realm also, they cannot produce another Brahma realm. So if someone wants to be reborn again in Brahma realm, they need to practice the jhana to the certain level of jhana. And for the Magga and Phala, they are called the Sanditika. Just after Magga, it produced the same Phala, the same types of Phala. So Sotapaddi Magga, after that, Sotapaddi Phala arise as a result. So they also not continuously producing. So according to the frequency of the result, the Kāmāvacara have all three types. Diṭṭha Dhamma Viraniya, so producing this life. Upapacha Viraniya, producing second life. And Aprapriya Viraniya, producing in different life along the samsara, following along the samsara. That's why this produced the many times of resultants, this type. That's why this is called the Mahakusala. This is explanation come in the Abhidhamma literature in relation to the name of Mahakusala. So if the wholesome consciousness is named as Mahakusala and resultant become Mahavipaka and become the functional become Mahakiriya. Okay, this is how we can call them Mahakusala, Mahavipaka, and Mahakiriya in the later literature usage. Okay, so another name, Kāmāvacara-kusala, for this no need to explain, it's clear. But for the second group, if you read the Abhidhamma Sangha text in the conclusion of Vipaka, the name come in this way, Sahetuka Kāmāvacara Vipaka. So the difference is, although in the Kāmāvacara-kusala, the word Sahetuka is not used, but in the Vipaka group, the word Sahetuka is used. So why? If we ask to classify the Sahetuka, the resultant consciousness with roots. Here, this consciousness have the roots. That's why to identify or to differentiate from the Ahetuka Vipaka. So you may remember the Ahetuka group also have the Vipaka. How many Vipaka consciousness in Ahetuka group?
7 from unwholesome and 8 from wholesome.
Okay, right. So altogether 15.
15.
Okay, right. So among the 15 Ahetuka Vipaka consciousness, the 8 are same as the cause. 8 are produced by the wholesome. So if we just say the Kāmāvacara Vipaka, it cannot be classified from the other group. That's why if we say the Sahetuka Kāmāvacara Vipaka, it can classify. For the other name, Kāmāvacara Kusala Vipaka also cannot identify, because the 8 consciousness in the rootless group also produced by the Kusala. So this is named as the Sahetuka Kāmāvacara Vipaka. Only 8. So by this name, this 8 group become different from the former resultant group, resultant types. So okay, so what about the Kāmāvacara Sahetuka Kāmāvacara Kusala? Why it is not used Sahetuka in this group? Only Kāmāvacara Kusala. This also Sahetuka, but actually in the what to say that in the Kusala types, there's no Ahetuka Kusala, right? There's no Ahetuka Kusala. That is why no need to identify by using the modifier word. So only when the modifier word is useful to classify one to another, that is used. Otherwise, it is over speaking or overusing, useless use. And that's why, although this is Sahetuka Kusala, it is not used, because all Kusala are Sahetuka. There is no Ahetuka Kusala. But for the Vipaka, Ahetuka Vipaka and Ahetuka and Sahetuka Vipaka, there's 2 types. So to identify one from another, to differentiate one to another, and the word modifier Sahetuka and Ahetuka are useful. That's why only in case of Vipaka and Kriya, the word Sahetuka is used. Okay, now for the Dawa Sahituka, we understand. And for the Kiriya case also, you see that in the Ahituka Citta, how many Kiriya Citta?
3.
Yes, right? So there are 3 Ahituka Kriya Citta. To differentiate from Ahituka, we need Dawa Sahituka. Sahituka, Kāmāvacara, Kiriya. Okay, so now we know the name and how we can name them to differentiate from the other. Okay, so Mahakusala A, Mahavipaka A, Mahakiriya A, or the other one, according to the Abhidhamma Sangha, not Mahakusala. Is the you will see the in the Myanmar version of Abhidhamma Sangha, Mahakusala, Mahavipaka, Mahakiriya in the subtitle, but actually they are not come from the original text. It's later teacher they inserted. So original name is Kāmāvacara-kusala 8 and Sahituka Kāmāvacara-vipaka and Sahituka Kāmāvacara-kiriya. They are named in this way. Okay, so now we understand the 3 group and different kinds, different class into 8 and their name. So let's consider about their classification according to the feeling. So among the 24 Kāmāvacara-sobhana, how many consciousness accompanied by joint?
12.
12, you know, half by half, right? So 12 somanasa and 12 upekasahagata. So how many consciousness jnana sampayutta?
12.
12. So now we build that 12. So jnana sampayutta has the roots, 3 roots, not only jnana. So the other alobha and adosa are always connected to all kinds of beautiful consciousness. So alobha, adosa. If we study in the chapter 2 of Cittasika Sangha, there the alobha and adosa are included under the classification of the Sobhana Saradhana 19. They always accompany, associated with the all kinds of Sobhana consciousness. That's why for the Sobhana consciousness, at least 2 roots we can find, alobha, adosa. So only the case of jnana, knowledge. On the other hand, the root of amoha. So jnana, amoha, and panya the same. You have to take a note this one. Jnana, amoha. Sorry, jnana, amoha, and panya same. So here, jnana samyutta means this consciousness associated with amoha root, and also this associated with wisdom faculty same. So if associated with the jnana or amoha or wisdom, it is called the jnana samyutta, and the other called jnana vipyuta. So 12 consciousness associated with 2 roots only, alobha and adosa, jnana vipyuta. And 12 consciousness associated with 3 roots, alobha, adosa, amoha, which is called jnana. So this is called jnana sampayutta. So here in this lesson, you need to take a note. In the 24, jnana sampayutta 12, jnana vipyuta 12. Jnana sampayutta 12 have 3 roots. So tihetuka, consciousness. Jnana vipyuta has 2 roots of alobha and adosa only. So dvihetuka consciousness. So in this way, we can collect some information lesson by lesson, and later on it's become complete and you understand all the explanation of Abhidhamma. Okay, so dvihetuka consciousness, tihetuka consciousness classification also can be applied in this consciousness. So dvihetuka 2, dvihetuka 12, and tihetuka 12. Okay, so for the asankharika, very clear, 12 asankharika and 12 sasankharika. So let me talk about the classification system. Here, the classification based upon the three principles. Not difficult. Firstly, the classification of wholesome, unwholesome, and functional evenly into the number of age. It's not difficult. That starting from the feeling. So feeling and somanasa and upekha, this is the first principle to classify, to identify. And kusala become two types according to the first principle of somanasa and upekha. And for the second principle, become four. So kusala become four. Somanasa 2, Jnana Samyuddha, Jnana Vipyuddha. Upekha 2, Jnana Samyuddha, Jnana Vipyuddha. And these four consciousness become 8 when it reaches to the top principle of prompting. So Asankharika 4, Sasankharika 4. This is three principles to classify the wholesome, resultant, and functional. So in three groups, it becomes the 24 sense-pure, beautiful consciousness. Okay, so this is what we have to know, roughly need to know the all information about the sense-pure, beautiful consciousness. So in relation to the beautiful consciousness, and we complete, after studying the sense-pure, beautiful consciousness 24, we complete the 54 consciousness of sense-pure in three groups. Okay, so we have more times to review. Among the 54 consciousness, let me ask you, how many akusala citta?
12.
Or okay. So how many kusala citta?
8.
8, only 8, no? Great wholesome 8. And how many vipaka citta?
23.
Okay,
23.
very
15
fast.
plus
Good.
8.
Okay, 15 plus 8. In the akusala group, there is no resultant. Only we have to consider only in two groups of ruthless and sense-pure beautiful. So 15 plus 8 become the 23. So we got the 12 unwholesome, 8 wholesome become 20. And with the resultant 23, how many?
54.
40?
47? 43.
Okay, so need the concentration, right?
43.
Okay, akusala 12 and
12,
kusala 8, 20. And
20.
with the resultant 23 become
23.
43.
43.
Then how many kiriya?
11.
11.
11.
Right. So
3 plus
11. With the 11 and
3
functional consciousness, 43 plus 11 becomes 54. Right. So what are the 11 functional consciousness?
3 from the rootless
Rootless.
and 8 from
8
the
from the
root.
Mahakriya.
Yeah,
Mahakriya.
Mahakriya. Okay, so these are 11. So now we know the according to the classification of nature, we call it jati. So akusala, kusala, vipaka, kiriya, they are called the nature of the consciousness. So according to jati, we can classify 54 sense-pure consciousness into 4 types. Then also association, so accompaniment factors. Let's try. How many somnasa sahagata consciousness in the 54? So you need to
Accompaniment.
4, 6, and 12. 4, 2, and 12.
yes, 4 to
4,
12.
2, and 12.
Of course. In the Loba Mula, and we can find the Somnasa Sahagata. And Dosa Mula and Moha Mula cannot find. And for the Ahituka, only 2.
2.
What are the 2 Somnasa Sahagata in Ahituka?
investigating consciousness accompanied by joy, and Hasitopa, 2.
Right. So Hasitopada. So this is a difficult point. Easily forget. They're two true. The others are not that difficult. Easily remember. In the sense sphere beautiful also half by half, only 12. So 4, 2, 12. Altogether 18 Somanasa Sahagata in the sense sphere consciousness. How many Upeka Sahagata?
14.
6, 14, and 12.
Okay, 6, 14,
14
and 12.
and 12.
6
So altogether how many?
6 from the
unwholesome,
Akutala, 2
Okay.
from the rootless, and 12 from the beautiful Cittas.
But for the rootless, how many?
rootless is
Rootless,
14.
14.
Yes,
14.
so 6, 14, 20,
and 12.
and 12. So
12.
32.
Sobhana.
32.
Okay, Ubeka Sagata 32. We got
32.
the 18, 32. And the others are very small amount. And
One.
Domanasa Sagata,
1.
Domanasa
Two.
2.
2.
Yeah.
Dosa Mula 2 are Domanasa Sahagata.
Dominasa, yeah.
So, Sukha Sahagata
1.
1. Dukha Sahagata
1.
1. Yes, okay, we got there. Sukha 1, Dukha 1, Domanasa 2, and Somanasa 18, Upeka 32.
32.
Yes, this is a classification according to the accompaniments and the feathers of feeling.
Feeling.
So this is a kind of, the study to develop the concentration. Abhidhamma, you need the concentration. If you are not using the chart and table paper. But in Myanmar's Pariyatti system, this is this class taught at nighttime. Switch on the light, only in the dark. So the teacher is asking how many and where. So in this way, we becomes expert in the classification. Anytime, and even when we sleep and wake up and us easily remember, because we already practiced many times with the concentration in the dark. So keeping this information, and let's maintain their understanding of Abhidhamma less long, because Abhidhamma sometimes considers as their complicated teaching are not easy to understand. Many are talking in this way. If you have the concentration, you can continue. If you don't have concentration, many times forgetting many information and very difficult, you think. So, and you need to take a few minutes in the dark to repeat the classification, right in the dark, and then repeat how many of this, and maybe it takes 10 minutes or 20 minutes around, and okay, you can repeat later very fast and become Abhidhamma expert. Otherwise, it's always confusing. How many? Is this akusala? Is this the somanasa or upeka? Like this, always confused, cannot continue, right? Okay, so this is the way how we can classify the sense sphere consciousness into different types. So for the sankhara, let's see there. How many asankharika first? How many asankharika?
5 from the
5 and
unwholesome.
12.
Okay.
5 from
Yes, 5 and
the
12.
unwholesome, and 12 from the
So 17 total?
Yeah. For total 17 asankharika, and sasankharika also the same.
Same
17.
too. Yeah.
So only 30 or 34. But the other Mohamula 2 and Ahituka 18, 20 consciousness are regardless of this Sankhara classification. We call the Sankhara Vimutta. Sankhara Vimutta.
Mostly.
Okay. So how many jnana samyutta?
12?
12.
Yeah, only 12 got jnana. And Jnana Vibhuddha also 12. How many Ditthikata Samyutta?
4.
4 only, right?
4.
So if we say they're related to the Sampayutta, how many consciousness related to Sampayutta?
15.
So 4 Ditthikata Sampayutta and 1 is Dominus Patika Sampayutta. Yeah, right? Out of 5. And the 12 Jnana Sampayutta. So 17
17.
Sampayutta and Vibhuddha like this. Okay, so I just want you to reconsider about the classification, because for usually the foreigner have difficulty to memorize, but for Myanmar it's not that difficult. Myanmar are very eager to memorize, something. Even we have the Tipitaka drum. So this become our, I want to say, the goodness in learning, in memorization in some case, but we need to develop the critical thinking. Okay, so this is the 54 consciousness, sense-pure consciousness. Okay, let's conclude here. And also, anything else? If you have the question in relation to the 54 sense-pure consciousness, and then we can discuss. Okay, let me stop here.
Thank you so much, Pandey, for the lecture on sense-pure beautiful consciousness. We were now going to end the live streaming, and we will continue to have a question and answer session on Zoom. Thank you all for joining us, and may all beings be healthy, happy, and peaceful. May we all soon realize Nibbana.